Hello everyone, welcome to today's session where we're going to discuss the topic elements of a story. Great stories have exciting twists, vivid descriptions, relatable characters, and lasting effects. But behind your favorite story, there is always a strong structure which is made up of the basic elements of storytelling, which are setting, character, plot, conflict, theme, point of view, tone, and mood. And in order to comprehend or fully comprehend any story, it is imperative to develop a solid understanding of these basic elements or building blocks of a story. So let's have a discussion or discuss them one by one. The first one is setting. The temporal and spatial dimensions of a story are called its setting. It is actually where and when of a story, which refers to the location and the time frame in which the action of the narrative takes place. Next is character. Characters are considered soul and life of any story because the plot of a story gets its momentum through the actions performed by the characters, and it is the characters whose actions define the further course of a story. So the characters can be broadly divided into four types. Protagonist. Protagonist, as we know, is a main character around which the story revolves. Then there is antagonist, whose actions come up against the protagonist, leading to conflict. Then dynamic character. Dynamic characters are those characters who change as the events takes place in a story, whereas static characters are those they who don't change or who remain the same during the course of the story. Next is conflict. Conflict is the problem or challenge faced by the protagonist or other characters in the story. It actually gives why to the story, because it is why the course of action is taking place, or why the story is proceeding further. This why is told by the conflict because it is the problem due to which the course of action is taking place. So it tells us the why of the story, and it is external or internal. External conflict external conflict is between characters and situations, whereas internal conflict is psychological, which means that within uh, it occurs within character, within the mind of the character. He or she struggles with something which is within him or her, such as fear or insecurity. Next is plot. Plot is or we can say plot lies in the sequential arrangement of the events, having a proper beginning, middle, and an end. It tells us the what of the story. Plot can be further divided into exposition, action, climax, and resolution. Let's have a quick look on them. Exposition or introduction is the beginning of the story, where the setting and characters are already established. Then there is rising action. Rising action is the moment or the action when something changes. Something changes in the story, which means the characters meet challenge or problem. That is rising action. Climax is the turning point, the most exciting part of any story. And then falling action. Falling action are those events that falls or that takes place after the climax. Then there is a resolution or denouement. It is the end of the story that occurs when the conflict is resolved. Next is theme. Theme refers to the underlying insight, the moral or idea, which the writer wants to express or expresses through the story. It is also thought of as message or central idea of a story. And here I want to give you an alert that theme and subject are two different aspects of the story. Where theme is the message or central idea of a story, subject is the actual topic of the story. For example, the Harry Potter series have a boy wizard, at Hogwarts, which is its subject, whereas its themes are friendship, bravery, and good versus evil. So, this is the difference between theme and subject. Next is point of view. To identify the point of view of any story, one needs to ask, or a reader must ask, who is telling or narrating the story. And the perspective who will answer in the point of view of the story. So, because the story can be told from the first person, second person, and third person perspective. So, it is the perspective, or we can say it is that perspective from which the narrator, the writer, or the author wants to express the experience to the reader. So, this perspective we can know by asking this question, that who is telling this story, and as per the answer we can evaluate, or we can assess that the perspective of the story is from the any omniscient narrator who knows everything, like third person. If it is third person, then the narrator is omniscient. He knows about the characters and the events, everything he knows. But if it is from the perspective of IV, then it becomes autobiographical, whereas the perspective U is very rare. When very rare writing, in very rare writings you will find that from this perspective the story is getting told, though nowadays it is there are so many narratives where you can find this one U, but it is still rare. So the point of view you can get if you ask this question, who is telling the story. Then there is tone. Tone is the overall emotional tone or flavor of the story. Is it happy, funny, sad, or depressed? Tone can be portrayed in multiple ways. A writer can portray the tone in multiple ways through word and grammar choices, choice of theme, imagery and description, symbolism, and the sounds of the words in combination, like rhythm, rhyme, and musicality. And in this way, a writer or author can set the tone of the story. Last one is mood. Mood is about the effect the writer creates in the reader. And here I want to give you one more alert, that it's easy to confuse tone and mood, but they are not interchangeable. Tone is established by the story or by the writer with all the essential elements of story which we have already discussed. But mood, on the other hand, mood reflects the emotion that that writer wants to create, or that writer wants the reader to feel. The emotion that writer wants the reader to feel, that is mood. So I hope that you have got this point. And these are the basic elements of a story. And with this I wrap up today's session. Thank you for listening.